All right, I think I am live, so I'm just going to do a quick video. Somebody inspired me to do this. Name's Little Ranger, so shout out there. Um, to do, and I think Egg and I has also mentioned this, but I digress. To do a little bit of fashion evaluation on the uh, classic or vanilla tier sets. Um, so without further ado, let's just hop right into this. All right, so the first one they start you out with here on this particular image is Druid. Now I'm not really sure in general why they use so many females for the models, and nothing against females. It's just that males tend to be a little bit bulkier. Preferably they would show all these with an orc male model. Of course, orcs can't be all the classes, so there's some exceptions there, but they tend to show off the sets quite a bit better. Now, there are certain sets I think look better on certain races, even, in spite of the fact that I think in general orcs look the best. Um, but, um, yeah, the females tend to be a little bit more slender and show less of the armor. It kind of consolidates the imagery on the sets. And the shoulders are certainly smaller on most of the female characters. Like, for example, you see this Night Elf female here. The hunter shoulders look far smaller here than they would on a male Night Elf or a male human even. Look at the Warlock and the Warrior here in the male models. They just, are bigger, so you kind of see them more clearly. That aside, let's address the Druid. So we're starting off with a bang here. I know I might get shit on a little bit by my druids. Little Ranger, specifically being a druid himself, sort of disagreed with some of my assessments on the druid. But starting off here with tier 1, I think this is probably one of the worst sets that I've seen on this particular image. When I'm looking at them all just straight on, druid tier 1 is probably the least interesting, possibly even by far. There's a couple other sets I think that are the bottom of the barrel, compete for that spot, but tier 1 druid is just not good to me. The texture work just looks blurry. Like look here, like the leaves coming off the belt, I guess, on as part of the robe, they just look bad. And then like this leafy texture, these dead brown leaves, like what the fuck is that? They're blurry, and compared to say the Shaman tier 1 or especially the Warlock, I mean the most of the imagery on, the Warlock looks quite a bit sharper than what you see here on the Druid. The thing I will say I do like about the tier 1 Druid is the simplicity of the helm. I think just having the horns alone um, is really unique, and I like kind of when the sets play around with the headpiece and do something a little bit different with it. The tier 2 druid here you see has the moose horns with a hood, whereas the tier 1 druid it's just the antlers, very similar to the way Warlock has just the horns. I'll get to that in a minute. All right, so next you have the tier 1 hunter. I also think this is a very weak set. The colors and the mix of male armor and fur and chains and gold, and they have gray and silvers, so the grays don't even match up. It's just a mishmash of garbage to me. They also threw some red in there for good measure, and I don't think it just doesn't work. Um, you have fur lined with like silvery mail type armor, and then you have like more like leather or cloth type gray padding on the pants and stuff like that in some areas of the chest and sleeves. Nothing about this works to me. The shoulder pieces themselves, I don't particularly mind. The helmet is just super generic in my opinion, and there's just a lot going on with Tier 1 that I don't like. It's just way too busy, and they have a skull placed on the chest piece, or I guess the middle of the torso. Um, and nothing about this it just does not look hunter-ish. It just doesn't scream hunter to me. If you showed me this, I could easily believe this was a shaman piece. Um, Possibly even a warrior. I mean, it is what it is. Like, this is not a particularly good set to me, and that's damn unfortunate. Um, I think hunters are probably have some of the weaker sets in Classic, but It's just, somebody has to be at the bottom, right? Mage is another class that I'm not super fond of. So these three right here, I don't love. And that goes almost for all three of their sets, like through all the way through next. I'm not ranking PvP sets or 2.5 sets. Um, just haven't got. Maybe I'll get around to it someday. Just not on this image, so we're not doing them. Uh, so you have the tier one mage set here. Um, I don't like it. I don't like this at all. Like this, you could, if you showed me this, I could easily think this is a priest, possibly even warlock set. Um, they have a lot of purples, and purple isn't exactly what I think of when I think of a mage. I think more along the lines of purple as a warlock color. Uh, they should feature blue, I think, a little bit more on this set. This is just super generic. I'm not sure I'd think a single piece of armor, like the chest, the belt, the gloves. Maybe the belt is okay, but like the shoulders, nothing individually on the set looks good on its own, nor does it look that great together. There's a lot of detail going on it, so at least for the robe piece and the belt piece, so I'll give it that. Um, but I'd almost argue that the Mage's dungeon set looks better than this, and it catches your eye better. They use, reds and blues in the dungeon set, which I think should be more associated with a mage than, purples and I don't know what this is, like beige or orange, like just a mishmash of colors that just don't blend and work well together. The paladin, okay, so I'm torn. This is one of the harder ones I think to rank. I think this set has some flaws. Let me see if I can uh you know what, I'm not an Alliance character, so I'm not sure I can even see the paletted 3D image. Um, but I feel like near the legs or like under the chest piece or something that shows some skin, which maybe that's only for the female model. I don't know, but I felt like last time I saw this, I saw some skin somewhere on the body showing, which never made sense to me. I could be totally way off based on that. That could just be incorrect, but uh, I will admit for this set, it looks very paladin. It looks very crusader, ish, I guess. Like that helm just screams paladin to me, and the shoulders sort of match up. In terms of the color, I think it's pretty spot on from what you'd want from a paladin set. It looks like plate armor, so that's good. Um, I just don't think the set overall is that great. It sort of reminds me of the Valor dungeon set for warriors, and um, it's missing something to make it, good. Like maybe a splash of a different color in like a couple of spots, like maybe some detailing in a couple of spots went a long way, and we'll cover that sentiment when we go to their next tier set, tier two. But yeah, I think it's missing something, and it could be a little bit better, but it ma- it screams paladin, and it makes sense for their class. So I'd say that's a decent set. Now the priest tier one, I think, is also similar to the mage. I think it's pretty fugly. I do like it better than the mage because I think the shoulder pieces are super unique, and the texture work on the upper chest here is very sharp. So like the shoulders, the chest chest area and the belt, it's all very sharp. You'll notice with a lot of these robes, the textures tend to look a little bit worse as you get lower into the robe piece. And that's pretty much across the board. So it's unfortunate. It is what it is. But there's a lot of detail going on in this set, and I think the colors are okay. When when you look at the top half of this set, it's actually not too bad. I think this bottom half here could have used some more work. Like they could have fine-tuned this a little bit better. I think it's missing some of the red detail that's very present in the upper half. And if this was more consistent with this top half, I think this set would be solid. But it is a little bit generic, and compared to the sets further down, the road for priest, it never really screams priest to me outside of maybe the shoulders. They do look like some ornate, like garbs you would see, like a real priest wear around their, shoulders or neck area. So I will give it that. But in general, I don't think this is their best set, and probably not the best set of the Tier 1 collection. Now, here we get to a really, class I think that has some pretty decent sets, at least early on. This just works for Rogue. Much like the Paladin, it just works, but it also, I think, looks quite good. I'm not too big a fan of the shoulders. I think they're super, like, bulbous and generic. Like, they're just too rounded. I think most of these classes get you very cool, unique looking shoulders, and earning the shoulder piece for Tier 1 Rogue, it's and equipping them without having the rest of the set just kind of looks stupid. Like they just look so bad on their own. But when you view it as a model as a whole, the model as a whole, it does work. It has a lot of good detail and doesn't really fall apart to me in the lower, leg area like some of the robes do. I think the feet here, having like the toe separated, I guess, I don't know what you call those, but like the way ninjas wear, like this just works. And it has like this like almost skull looking design. I don't know what you would call that in the lower torso area, and it has sort of like a scarf up on the up below the neck with the red scarf and red details in all the right places. Similar to how I said um, the priest could have used a little bit more of their, tertiary red color in the bottom half of their tier set. The rogue doesn't fall apart there because it does have that. And the colors are spot on. They all work well together, and it's a decent set. So the Shaman is one that I'm not a super big fan of. Um, I don't like the helm, especially when it's equipped without the other pieces of gear. So one of the things I kind of think about when I look at these sets is how does it like look when you're collecting gear one by one. You're not going to go to fucking Molten Core and get your whole set. It never works that way. I mean, maybe if you're fucking Asmongold and you get super lucky on RNG and all your shit drops, you might get it, but realistically, no one does. It's happened where people have gotten like 5 pieces or 6 pieces in just 2 raids, but you're equipping these things usually one by one, and the helm just to me looks bad. What are these like fucking ears or horns or what? It looks like a fucking biker's bandana. And I mean, the whole thing looks like a fucking biker to me if, bikers wore dresses. Like, this purple here is god awful. Like, I don't mind the use of purple necessarily in this set. Um, However, I think they could have gone with a different direction, maybe with more of this gold here down at the bottom that they don't use a ton throughout the set. It's just sort of right here in the upper area of the robe. So, yeah, and the boots. But yeah, the purple just doesn't work, and especially in the gloves. I just don't love it. Shaman gets better every set. So that's one definite pro about them is they continue to look better and better each time they, enter a new phase or, the next raid and get gear from there. But I think it does have some good texture work. The shoulders are pretty decent. But altogether, I'm not totally in love with this set. Now, probably my favorite 2 classes in terms of their sets are the last two here. Warlock Tier 1, I've heard arguments that it's just too colorful. It's a goddamn rainbow, or, it's too busy. But I think this set is really sharp. It's not doesn't necessarily scream Warlock, maybe outside of the helm and maybe shoulders, in the way that their sets further down the line do. But I think when you earn this set piece by piece, it looks good. And when it's all together, I think it still looks good. When you're, standing around an org and you see somebody with this set on, it pops. That's another thing I think about. How does it pop when you see somebody wearing it? Because some things on a still image like this may not look like it would, be that cool, but when you see them in person, it's quite impressive. And I think this is one of those sets. Again, I really love the horns. You just take the helm and just make them like demon horns. I love that. Unfortunately, I hadn't earned my tier 1 helm yet. I earned the tier 2, so it's probably going to be a while before I get a shot at getting the horns, but it is what it is. Like, you have to take the bigger upgrade when you have an opportunity, right? You can't just sit around and wait to complete your tier 1 set when you have a shot at something vastly superior. So, yeah, and Warlock, man, they have some great sets all around. I think even past vanilla in BC, some of their sets are outstanding. Um, so, yeah, good set. Notice like all the fine details in the lower torso area. Like these here look like eyes right here, and then they have little green accents. And it all just works. They have a lot of color going on, but it just fucking works for me. And it's really sharp, and it's a good set as far as the comparatively to the other tier 1 sets. It pops for sure. Okay, so here you have a warrior. I have a real fucking soft spot for this set. On a human, I don't think it's necessarily done proper justice, but on a tauren or orc, like those shoulder pads are fucking sick. They are amazing, and I love the mouthpiece for the helm. Again, sometimes less is more. Like, for example, their tier 2 helms, many people have already seen in game. It's a little bit, it pops more. It catches your eye more because it's so much bigger and has more going on. But sometimes there's something to be said for the simplicity. Now, I think some of the areas of this set are a little bit too busy. I would have kept it a little more simple on the chest piece, and maybe like the legs aren't so bad, but yeah, I would have kept it a little bit simpler and maybe cut down on all the gold. I think they should have worked a little bit heavier with the blue, cut down on some of the gold, but that's very, very small criticisms on an otherwise set a set that I otherwise think is pretty fucking good. Okay, so here you come down to tier 2 Druid. I heard Lil Ranger argue to me that this set is one of his faves, and you know, I'm not in love with it. I do actually think the moose horns are okay, um, but like, and the robe piece is passable. But sit here looking at it, and yes, it does look okay. But like when I look at it sitting next to the other armor sets, I just don't love it. So the robe is decent, um, but it's just missing something. These shoulders are just not good. These shoulders are bad. Um, they could have went with a little bit more here. You'll see when we get to tier 3 what I'm talking about, because I think Druid improves vastly when you hit tier 3 in terms of their looks. I know some people have a soft spot for this set. I'm not one of them. I think the shoulders just sort of obliterated, and the gloves are not all that good looking either. They just look like some basic brown leather gloves to me. But yeah, the helmet is okay. It's passable. I like the moose horns. I don't necessarily care too much for the hood they're attached to. It just doesn't make sense to me. How is a fucking like floppy ass little hood going to hold those goddamn moose horns on? Like it looks weird. I think I prefer the clean antlers in the tier 1 set, or the demon horns in the fell heart set for Warlock's tier 1. But um, yeah, I'm not huge on all the leafiness, like all the overgrowth that comes along with these two druid sets. Maybe that's why I never super fond of their sets, but tier 3 really fixes a lot of the druid problems. It's not my favorite, tier 3 set, nor is it, one of my top sets, but I think tier 3 fixes a lot of what I don't like about tier 1 and 2 druids. So here we have the next hunter set. Um, it is purple as fuck. Purple and gold. Like they really chose a couple of colors here and stuck with them. They found a color scheme that to go with, and they stuck to that scheme comparatively with tier 1 hunters where it's sort of all over the fucking place. Like the colors don't necessarily match up very well. Yeah, so here they definitely stuck to a theme, and I would say it's probably my favorite of the hunter sets, because it looks like high-end armor. You got the dragon skull and horns on the helm, and You have the same thing on the shoulders, very much reminiscent of the Warlock Tier 2 as well, how they have the skulls on the helm and shoulders as well, so that's a theme, I guess you could say, across the Hunter and Warlock Tier 2 sets. Um, it looks like mail well enough to me to sell me that it's, on the fact that it is mail armor, and it's not too overdone or underdone. I would say this is probably Hunter's most solid set in my opinion in terms of like wow factor and the fact that it pops when you see it. And the fact that it just looks like high-end gear, and when you attach one piece at a time, it doesn't look that bad. Because you can definitely rock this helm with any other armor, and it still looks great. Okay, so here you have a tier 2 mage set, and mages, like, so this set is unquestionably better than their tier 1. No fucking doubt about that. But I just can't. Something about the cotton balls on the helm and shoulders that I just never could wrap my head around and love. I don't love that. I really like they added some aura, some unique um, effects to the mage set in this respect, but or when the tier 2 sets came out, they deserved it. Um, but I never loved the cotton balls. Otherwise, this set does stick to a fucking clear color scheme, and I think that's a vast improvement over the tier 1 set. And what I will say for this is this set pops. Like when you see, it's one of those sets I think that looks better seeing somebody wear it in person in game than it does on a laid out with all the sets next to it, because the colors really seem like they glow and they pop. Um, like there's like magic running through the robes. So yeah, in that respect, it's really good. I just don't know if I love the purple as a common theme amongst the mage sets. Um, yeah, I think they could go with a different direction for the color scheme, but definitely a vast improvement. It didn't take much to improve on Tier 1 per se, but it's an improvement. It's still not their best set in my opinion, however. So, yeah, anyway, the Paladin. This set, this is perfecto. This is a beaut. This is probably easily a top 3 set in terms of WoW, probably all time. I don't think they've ever created a Paladin set or plate set this good. This is top tier of the tier sets. This is just there is absolutely no criticism I could give this set. I just look at it and it's so good. I guess if you were to put a criticism upon it is the fact that maybe it's a little bit dark and heavy for a paladin to wear, but even then, I'm not on board with that. I think it's just so good. Like there's just so much going on with it, and it all just works so fucking well. And when you equip this set piece by piece, it still looks fucking good. Everything about it, it's a hard 10, like an easy 10. So yeah, that's Judgment, and it's legendary because of how awesome it in fact is. Now here the priests get a huge step forward in their tier 2, even more vast than I would say the mage's step is for their tier 2 set. Um, there's a lot going on. It sort of reminds me of Warlock's tier 1 with all like the fucking like spikes coming out of their shoulders and helm area, but it's really busy. But again, the colors just work because it's almost themed as if it's after like it looks like it's a stained glass window or something. And for that reason, I really think this set works. It's a little bit busier than I probably would like it to be, but not by much. I think when you get to the tier 3 set, I think that is just marginally better in some aspects in terms of the colors and the busyness used. It's just super bold. It pops out, so I'll give it that. But it's a little bit on the busy side from my personal taste, but otherwise this is a great set, and it's got like the aura of holy light coming out of the helm, and it always just looks so amazing. It has a great animation to it and effects, and overall, I think there's a really good set for the priests and one of the stronger sets overall. Now, Rogue is when here's where it hits the high point for Rogue. This is probably Rogue's best set in Classic. It just works. Like this just works for a Rogue. Much in the same way Judgment works for Paladins. I think this works for Rogue. Not that Tier 1 doesn't. Um, because I think Tier 1 also works for Rogue. They use the same, almost the exact same color schemes for both. But they just both look like stealthy ninja assassins. And they both use heavy, red and black, which is kind of what you'd expect from a rogue who, spills a lot of blood. And it just makes sense. And it's a good looking set. Um, they probably could have gone with an extra tertiary color to like really give this set more pop because it doesn't really pop in the way that these two do. You know what I'm saying? The helmet area certainly does, and the shoulders are pretty good. But once you get to the lower half, it does fall apart a little bit. Um, but it's still overall a really good set, and it's subtle, much in the way a rogue is. So I give it a hard pass on maybe not being quite as busy as some of the others. So Shaman gets a vast improvement here as well. I'm not in love with this set. It's still a little it's for male armor and with the fur. I just don't love it. It makes more sense to me for a shaman to have that kind of look going on than a hunter. But it's still supposed to be male armor, and it's weird to have male robes, They got the chains on it, so it makes it male, I guess. But it's got a lot of colors going on. It's got the chains in the stomach area, and that's another thing for the female models is it's so exposed here, and like, it just never made sense to me. Um, I don't love the helm comparatively to some of these other classes tier 2 helms. I think this one's rather weak, but what really pulls this together and makes it passable, in my opinion, is these shoulders. The wolves on the shoulders are fucking awesome, and I think it's the shoulders when you equip them, they have this like lightning bolt effect. It's very subtle, but it gives like a lightning bolt special effect to your, character, and it looks good. Some of those effects are lost on still images, unfortunately, but they look really cool. So like obviously here's the priest with the light coming out of the fucking um, helm, and oh yeah, see you can see subtle bolts of lightning go off around the character. Obviously undead can't be shaman, so it looks a little weird, but it's good, really good. Um, and then here you get to see the glowing cotton balls for the mage. Not a huge fan of those, but nonetheless, at least they have something going for them. Now here you get to another Warlock set. God, this is such a good set. Warlocks just get it so good. Um, so the helm and the shoulders are obviously animated with a lot of glowing effects. Um, and man, this set just works, dude. It has purples and greens, the color of shadow and, like rot, as I think of the green to represent like corruption, magic, and it has the skulls. It has more snake skulls, like serpent skull. It has like this serpent or dragon type skull on the helm with the fangs hanging down over your eyes. And then it has like this light green on the chest and robe area with like demonic runes written across the chest, and then like just little divots in the robe itself. It almost makes the robe look like it's glowing, um, like there's power hidden within the robe, imbued inside of it, similar to the way the mage's robe looks. And I think this just makes it look so good. The sleeves themselves look like bandages almost, like purple bandaging, like they're mummified a certain respect. And like lower here on the robe, you get another picture of the helm skull graphic. Man, this is just beautiful. This is a beautiful set. And I don't even think this is the best Warlock set. It's just all uphill for Warlocks once they start raiding. It just keeps on getting better and better. So, yeah, it's a great set. Maybe a top 5 set in terms of collectively all the tier sets for all classes. I would say it's probably a top 5 set. If it's not, it's definitely an honorable mention. Definitely a top 10. Okay, so here you have the tier 2 warlock or warrior set. Um, Warriors collectively have great tier sets as well. Some reason I kind of think I like tier 1 more, but tier 2 also has a really, really good helm. Whereas tier 1 goes for less is more. This one goes for like a straight Boba Fett looking fucking helm with an axe on top. It also looks very, very good. The shoulder blades look very cool, although I sort of prefer like those earring like fucking like blades on the tier 1 shoulders. I always think those look super good. I think I prefer the tier 1 shoulders, but these are no slouch, and they have some kind of glow effect to them, I'm pretty sure. See, on the shoulders, yeah, like the green glow of the skulls and the eyes, I guess. Yeah, but it looks good. The color scheme itself, I probably would have chosen differently if it were me. But nonetheless, I'm glad that they brought in green as sort of a tertiary color for the set because it definitely needed one. If it was just blue and gold, I think it would have hurt this set quite a bit in terms of its looks. But yeah, it's a strong set, and it's pretty much uphill for Warriors throughout their rating experience. So that's good for them. See if we can just move this real quick. Um, so yeah, here you have the tier 3 druid, and it gets a lot better for them, man. So they finally get some like special effects going on, like an aura shining on their shoulders, I believe it is, and maybe helm as well. So yeah, obviously undead can't be druids once again, but yeah, I think it colors your eyes, um, and it looks like the nature it just matches so well with their nature spells. Like this set just looks really, really good comparatively to the other Druid sets. I'm not too big on, it's hard to see in the still image, but I'm not too big on how the helm spikes back there and has those like two little dreadlocks hanging down. I don't know if you could see that. Not too big on that. I think the back of the helm looks kind of weird, like it's in a teardrop shape, like when you look at it, like from the top, but um, other than that, I think it's overall pretty good. It's got a clear theme and color scheme going on, and it sticks very faithfully to it. It almost has two shades of green, one that it uses in the upper half and lower half, and in some cases that doesn't always work that well, but in this case it definitely does. And this is a really good set, and it all just works well. It's not overboard with the overgrowth, the leaves and branches and antlers, but it's still druid-ish enough to look at it and say, yeah, that looks like a druid set without being overboard on all the nature crap. Hunter here, I'm not huge on. I don't think this is their best set. It's better than their tier 1 for sure because it's got a clear theme going on. Um, and they do have a sort of a special effect here as well. They have like a purplish blue glow coming out of the shoulders. Um, but yeah, I just don't think this is an overall strong set. If you were to tell me this was a rogue set, I think I might honestly believe you. Um, you could pull this off as a shaman set. You could almost pull this off as a warrior set. It's just so generic. I don't. They have a clear color scheme they're going for, and I appreciate when they do that. I just don't think the colors they chose were very fucking good. Like, it's not that the colors blend that poorly. Um, it's just the colors aren't very good. I will say that a lot of the detail is lost because of the two tone, like the two colors chosen here are like pretty dark colors. So like the finer details on this set are somewhat lost when you look at it, and when you do that, your set tends not to pop. So this has very little pop to it. as a hunter, I can't imagine really looking forward to replacing your tier 2 set with this set, piece by piece, because individually these pieces aren't very cool. Maybe besides the shoulders because they glow. But other than that, everything about it is underwhelming. And even the shoulder design themselves, very underwhelming. Um, the tusks on the helm, it almost looks like they have tusks coming down from the face on the helm. And it's not very convincing to me. I just don't love it. Um, yeah, it's a rather weak set for a tier 3 for sure. Probably one of the weakest, if not the weakest tier 3, although there's a couple of competitors for sure. Maybe second weakest, I'd say. So the mage here gets a major improvement. The helm is a little funky to me, how it kind of curves up like this. It just always looked a little weird to me. But the shoulders and the effects coming from them, it looks like they're frozen, like ice. And they have an effect that, you know, sells you on that. Uh, Now, if you want to talk about a set that pops, this one fucking pops. It legitimately looks like it's imbued with like nether magic or whatever. Like it works. The color scheme chosen is a vast improvement uh, over their other sets. Like less purple, more blue. Um, I probably personally would have went with maybe a little bit more red since it's called Frostfire because it looks almost exclusively like a frost set. Kind of weird that at this point I'm pretty sure mages can respec to fire, but yet they're wearing fucking ice cubes on their shoulders. But overall, this is a pretty good set, and it has a lot of pop, even more than their tier 2 set. Tier 2 set does, um, and I like it all right. Would I put it in, my top 5 or top 10? Probably not, because some of these tier 3 sets are also really, really fucking good. But overall, it's Mage's best set, and definitely something to look forward to when you get to Nax. Here, I would say this is tied for worst set, if not the worst. I might give the edge to Paladin. After coming from Judgment, there's almost nowhere to go from there but downhill. Like, this is not fucking good at all. I can't view the 3D model in Atlas because I'm not Alliance, but God, this just looks terrible. It's hard to even begin. Like, the boots are too thick. They look like fucking how do you bend your knees with those fuckers on? Like you're gonna clank your boots together when you walk in these things. And like the spikes on the shoulders, they're just so simple and basic. Like there's nothing special to it. The helm, like other than the fact that it gives you blue glowing eyes, it's terrible. And the fact that on the female model she's showing her stomach, like I don't mind it on some of the cloth sets, but you're supposed to be wearing plate here, bro. Like, it's just not good. This is not fucking good. Probably the only positive thing I would say is the colors they chose weren't bad. It's the overall design that I just don't like, and that's not, common amongst the tier 3 sets. Most of them are pretty fucking good. Um, and this one is one of the worst. So, anyway, Priest, what a good fucking set. The colors aren't too busy. They work well together. This set has pop and it has a ton of effects going on, but doesn't like just overdo it. It has a halo for the helm that's animated, and it has these wings. God, this set is just it's gorgeous. I would say this might be a top 5, definitely top 10 set. I mean, look at that. That is beautiful right there. I mean, everything about it just works. It has great detail on it, and it doesn't really seem to fall apart too much on the bottom half. Like you can make that detail out pretty clear, and it looks great in all kinds of lighting situations. The shoulders just pop. They have the wings. I mean, what can you possibly say negatively about this set? There's not much because it has a lot going on for it, and all of it's pretty good. And not to mention only that, but each piece equipped individually looks pretty fucking good. And when you see this set, it is a priest set. This looks like a fucking priest set. Really, really good design and great job with it. Now, this set is really rather strange to me for the Rogue. I think this is the weakest out of their tier sets. It doesn't pop as much because of the colors chosen. The detail work on it is really strong, but like I just don't love the details themselves. Uh, the shoulders are quite a bit weaker compared to the tier 2 set. The overall colors chosen weaker. The helm is weaker. Um, the pants are probably the highlight of this particular set. The way they're textured. I think the outlining and the detail on the pants is really strong, and the belt is very unique in the way that really pops. Most of the belts for any of these tier sets generally don't, but for the Rogue here, it definitely does. It's almost like studded in a way. Um, but I do not love this set. Comparatively to the other tier 3 sets, it doesn't have much going on. It's not animated in any respect, I don't think. And look how boring that looks on an undead. God, it looks even worse in game on the 3D model than it does on that still image there. That is not a pretty set. Um, and it's sad because the rogues were so close to being one of my favorite classes for armor in classic, but man, they just fall apart when you hit Nax. And to work hard to replace your tier 2 with this set is almost a punishment more than it is a reward, and that's sad. Uh, Now here we get to the Shaman. This set is a vast improvement for the Shaman class. I think this set probably pops in some ways more than any fucking set in out of all of them. In Classic. This set might have the most pop. The only one that may pop more is Judgment for the Paladins, the Tier 2 Paladin, and that's the best set in the game. So like when you're being compared to that, that's really good. I think the helm is kind of funky. The spikes on the helm, they're all different sizes and shapes. Like, oh, I shouldn't say shapes, but they're all different lengths, and it just the helm would have been better served without the spikes. I think if you cut the spikes off the helm, it would just look better and make the set just so much better. And also on the shoulders, I'm not sure if I'm sold on the spikes on the shoulders either. You could chop those off, and this set would look e- probably even better. But it's hard to complain about having more spikes instead of less spikes on your armor sets. So I'll give it a hard pass on that. But like, man, they have fucking volcanoes on their shoulders, pretty much like the Eye of Sauron resting on their shoulder pads. So fucking hard to complain about this set. They have a clear color scheme going on here. It looks like you're in the eye of the storm, or fucking in the middle of a volcano. Like this set looks like it was fucking smelted in molten core. Like it's pretty fucking good. So I would say overall this is a huge improvement and something definitely to look forward to as a shaman when you hit max. Okay, the best set, I think. Judgment is close, but I think this is the best set ever fucking made. Plague Heart for the Warlocks. Now, it looks a little bit more subtle to than the Nemesis Tier 2 set, but man, this set just speaks to me on a whole different level. Like, this set is unique as fuck, similar to the way Judgment is very unique for the Paladin. They've never gotten anything like this since, and the Warlocks I don't think have gotten anything quite this good since or remotely like it. So you're basically fucking Darth Vader, dude. Like you have Darth Vader's mask, and that's badass. Like this is just so good. That helm is insane. The way the spikes on the shoulders like twist back, and it has like the noxious gas radiating from the chest piece. Like the only thing I would say negative is they maybe could have done a little bit better with the bottom half of the robe in terms of detail, but the top half of this set is perfecto. It's a masterpiece. The eyeballs on the shoulders, I don't know if you could see them on the VOD, but God, they are so good. Like they just pull that shoulder piece together. Like it already looked good, but to have those fucking eyeballs like that, those green snake eyeballs, like Cthulhu eyes or what have you, this looks so good, and it looks like corrupted and like twisted, and it just like god damn that is beautiful. And the colors chosen, you wouldn't think yellow and fucking teal and would work that well together, but like it fucking does. And this set is badass. And I'm a sucker for the Darth Vader gas mask type helm. Like god, look like a mad scientist or like I don't know, like a witch doctor or something. Like, God, that is sick. Now you have the Warriors Tier 3. Now, back when I played in Vanilla, I thought this set was quite a bit cooler than I do now. I don't think this set has aged quite as well to me as, as much as I used to like it. Like, I don't like it as much now. And the reason I think that is because it reminds me of a Death Knight set. Like, if you would tell me this set was Death Knight gear in Wrath of the Lich King, I totally would have believed you. Let's see, yeah, totally would have believed you. But otherwise, it's a pretty fucking good set. The way they have the skulls on the pauldrons with the blue glow coming out of the eyes and mouth, it looks really, really good. And the helm horns, like like the fucking horns that come forward like this, like a bull, also look really, really stellar. I like the blacks, blues, and purples. The only downside I would say here is that it looks so Death Knighty, and maybe doesn't fit or keep in the same tradition as the other two sets. Like, given the, flashy and colorful nature of these two sets and how savage they look compared to this, which is a little bit scaled back, a little bit more subtle in color scheme and pop. You would have thought they would have kept up more with that flashy color scheme tradition, but this is scaled back quite a bit in terms of color and pop, but it's still overall a really, really good set, and you would definitely be proud to, sport that in org and flex in front of everybody because that fucking set is awesome. And it looks even better on an orc or a tauren. Like I'm just not sure the alliance classes, or I'm sorry, races rather, do this set very much justice. It looks okay on a night elf, but it's one of those rare sets I don't think that look good on a human compared to some of the horde races. Um, but yeah, it's an overall great set and something definitely to look forward to for warriors. But yeah, that about wraps it up. Maybe soon I'll have to evaluate the PvP sets, um, maybe the dungeon sets or the tier point 5 sets, or maybe I'll throw in the tier 2.5 sets. But the 2.5 sets, here, I'll give you a ranking on those right now. They all fucking suck. Compared to the legitimate tier sets that come from I guess I shouldn't say the 40 mans, but yeah, the non-AQ related tier sets are just better. They look better. More work's put into them. The 2.5 sets are garbage by comparison. They're even worse than the dungeon sets and point 0.5 sets, which is unfortunate. They really should have done better work on the AQ sets. That's part of the reason it's harder to be excited about AQ because the armor from it looks like so fucking stupid. But at least once AQ comes out, Nax is right around the corner. And as a Warlock, I can't wait for that because I would love a shot to get Plague Heart. So yeah, this about wraps everything up. Just something to look forward to for each of your classes, and hopefully you have an idea of where I would rank these. There's a lot of sets that probably go in, somewhere in the middle or into the okay area, just okay area, and then a select few that are at, the cream of the crop, and then a select few that are just bottom of the barrel. They're dumpster fires, but yeah, you probably have an idea of which sets I think those are. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to get out here, and that will conclude the video. Thank you for watching.